The dawn sky wore a cloak of muted gray while distant church bells chimed their somber melody. Grieving figures moved with measured steps through the cemetery gates, their expressions etched with sorrow, as a small girl remained motionless beside the casket containing her sole true guardian, her beloved father. He had been her beacon of hope, the singular voice that whispered bedtime tales, the gentle hands that dried her sorrows, and the unwavering presence who vowed that regardless of circumstance, solitude would never claim her. Yet existence possesses a merciless talent for destroying such sacred vows. And on that afternoon, as the last handfuls of soil descended upon his final sanctuary, young Emily's universe collapsed into devastating silence. She held a tiny teddy bear against her chest, her eyes red and puffy from endless weeping, unaware that her anguish was merely beginning to unfold. Attendees and community members whispered about the ruthless nature of destiny. However, positioned mere steps away, wearing a frigid expression and restless gaze, stood her stepmother. Cloaked in mourning attire, she appeared to embody the perfect grieving spouse. Yet within her soul, bereavement had been consumed by something infinitely more sinister, bitter hatred. She had never embraced Emily, never welcomed her into her reconstructed existence. And now, with her husband deceased, no barriers remained to contain her malice. When the service concluded, Emily's teddy bear was saturated with tears, and her stepmother's declaration sliced through the atmosphere like frozen daggers: "This is no longer your place. Should you hold faith in human decency, in opportunities for redemption, and in the transformative strength of mercy that can rescue a spirit when all optimism appears extinguished, please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to Untold Stories 0.4. Your engagement enables us to deliver tales of hope and humanity to countless others across the globe." The afternoon continued its course, sunlight breaking through the overcast sky as attendees departed individually. Emily, wearing a simple ivory dress that hung loosely on her delicate frame, was pulled back to the imposing residence where she had previously experienced security. The dwelling no longer provided sanctuary. Her stepmother acted without hesitation. Garments were ripped from her closets, crammed thoughtlessly into a weathered suitcase, and hurled onto the pavement as if Emily were merely unwanted luggage. The child's voice shattered as she pleaded, "Please, Mommy, I'm sorry." Despite her innocence, she believed that perhaps speaking these words might soften her stepmother's disposition. Instead, a pail of freezing water was dumped upon her head, soaking her tiny body, her sobs now blending with the glacial streams cascading down her face. Onlookers murmured quietly but remained distant, reluctant to become entangled in the situation. A gentleman from the opposite side of the road displayed visible distress but quickened his pace, as though witnessing such cruelty was unbearable. Emily's stepmother sneered and violently shut the door, abandoning the little girl collapsed on the ground, embracing her teddy bear. Her luggage lay open and scattered around her. The sun blazed brilliantly above, the environment filled with melodic birdsong and summertime heat. However, for Emily, it seemed like the most frigid day of her existence. Precisely when the universe appeared to have forsaken her, a dark sedan approached the end of the driveway. The vehicle door swung open, revealing a gentleman in an immaculate suit, imposing and authoritative, yet possessing eyes touched by something more valuable than fortune, genuine compassion. His identity was Alexander, a wealthy entrepreneur recognized throughout the community solely by his distinguished reputation. However, for Emily, he would shortly transform into something far more significant than simply a famous name. He had been traveling to a business appointment when he witnessed the scene developing, an innocent child cast aside, belongings strewn about, her head lowered in complete degradation. Something within his core shattered at this vision. A recollection of his own youth surfaced, of evenings spent in isolation following his mother's death, and the sharp pain of abandonment from those who should have provided comfort. Without a moment's hesitation, he rushed toward her. Emily raised her gaze as approaching footsteps reached her ears. For one fleeting instant, she imagined it might be her father, miraculously returned, arriving to save her. Instead, it was Alexander. He lowered himself beside her, disregarding the reality that his costly attire was becoming drenched from the water pooled around her. He placed his hand tenderly upon her shoulder, and speaking with a voice both resolute and brimming with kindness, he declared, "This cruelty stops now. Never again will anyone subject you to such treatment." These words lingered in the atmosphere like an oath etched in marble. Her stepmother, detecting the disturbance, burst outside, her complexion flushed with fury. She hurled accusations at Alexander, denouncing Emily as a liability, demanding she wanted no association with her. Yet Alexander remained unwavering. He met her stare directly and proclaimed, "If you can discard her following her father's burial, then you lack the right to be addressed as a mother. I shall assume her care. From this moment onward, she will no longer be rejected." The assembled observers gasped audibly, hushed conversations rippling through the gathering. The heartless stepmother stood paralyzed, understanding she could not challenge him, unlike Alexander. Not merely due to his financial resources, but because of the commanding presence and conviction in his statement. With an indignant gesture, she retreated indoors, slamming the entrance yet again. For Emily, this final slam no longer signified rejection. It represented liberation. Alexander gathered her suitcase, delicately retrieved the teddy bear that had tumbled to the pavement, and clasped Emily's shaking hand. For the first time since the funeral service, she experienced a spark of warmth within her heart. The pair advanced toward the vehicle, departing from the residence that had transformed into a fortress of brutality. The subsequent days presented their challenges. Emily battled with recurring nightmares, awakening in distress, terrified of experiencing abandonment once more. Alexander maintained his patience throughout. He employed private instructors, provided her with the finest clothing, but most crucially, he offered her time, focus, and affection. He would remain at her bedside during moments of fear, recite stories during the evening hours, and assure her daily that she was cherished. Gradually, her joy re-emerged. Her eyes began to sparkle once again, and the child who had once sobbed on the driveway discovered how to smile without apprehension. The community that had previously averted their gaze began to take notice. Their whispers no longer concerned cruelty, but rather celebrated compassion. They observed how Alexander, despite his considerable wealth, treasured kindness above all material possessions. They witnessed how Emily, once discarded, flourished into an emblem of strength and optimism. Several months afterward, on a radiant afternoon, Emily arranged flowers upon her father's resting place. She spoke in gentle tones, assuring him not to be concerned, that she had found safety at last. Alexander remained positioned a few paces away, allowing her privacy, yet prepared to support her should she need assistance. In that instant, the sunlight pierced through the cloud cover, bathing them both in golden light. And although her father had departed, Emily finally sensed she had discovered a new sanctuary, not within physical walls, but within the soul of someone who genuinely treasured her. If this narrative moved your spirit, please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Untold Stories 0.4. Tales such as this one serve to remind us that even during our darkest hours, compassion possesses the power to transform everything. Before we conclude, we extend a heartfelt invitation. Please share a comment below describing what kindness represents to you. Your reflections might provide inspiration to another person seeking hope today. Therefore, as twilight descended upon this extended journey from mourning to restoration, Emily's story remained as testimony that occasionally family transcends those we are born among. It encompasses those we discover when love intervenes, especially when we anticipate it least.